Welcome to time-tested and innovative LNC marketing tactics for captivating attorneys. As a legal nurse consultant with over 35 years of experience, Pat Iyer successfully used a variety of marketing strategies to create her large, independent LNC business called Med League Support Services. After she sold the company in 2015, she returned to the field in 2021 and serves legal nurse consultants as a business coach. Welcome, Pat.
Thank you, Barbara. And Barbara is my co-moderator for this program. She is a skilled medical, surgical, and orthopedic expert witness. Barbara and I have collaborated to create 8 virtual conferences so far, with our 8th one coming up October 26th through 28. And both Barbara and I have served the American Association of Legal Nurse Consultants as past presidents. Our topic today is to focus on marketing, the do's and the don'ts, what works and what doesn't work with legal nurse consulting marketing.
This is certainly a hot topic for legal nurse consultants. Let's take a look at what some of their traditional marketing approaches are by legal nurse consultants.
I'd be happy to address that, Barbara. Some of the traditional ones are word of mouth referrals, which we love. They already are predisposing the potential client to hire us. They cost us nothing, but they're unpredictable. We don't know when those are going to come in. There's also exhibiting at attorney events, conferences, conventions, which can be very successful, but is a significant investment between getting the booth, getting all of the handouts that are going to be given away at the booth, transportation, shipping materials. It's a significant amount of money. Also, having physical products. We used to have lots of trifold brochures and sheets, and I gave out all kinds of folders in the past. You've seen them, you open them up, there's a pocket on each side, they're stuffed with materials. There's also cold calls and cold visits. Those I would all identify as traditional marketing methods for legal nurse consultants.
And what are some of the drawbacks of those approaches?
Well, the referrals are not predictable. It's wonderful when they happen, when you've got a satisfied client telling another colleague about you, but you can't plan on that. You can't forecast that. You don't know when it's going to happen. There's attending industry events, which I mentioned, involve a significant cost factor. They can be quite effective because attorneys like to meet people face to face who they'll be working with. And during the pandemic, when conferences were virtual, some of my LNC coaching clients participated in virtual conferences, but didn't find them quite as satisfying as being in an exhibit hallway or an exhibit hall and having a stream of attorneys come by in person. Distributing flyers and sending letters are time-consuming. That creating an attractive flyer is a skill. Not all of us have it. We can learn it, but not all of us know how to use graphic artist skills to be able to align text and pictures and make things look attractive. And there's a cost in printing, of printing up flyers, printing up brochures that goes into the marketing budget for a legal nurse consultant.
Can you share with us a situation with regard to printing brochures?
Yes, I had a legal nurse consultant who worked with me for a couple of years, and I decided to come up with a trifold brochure that would have content about my company on the first flap, and then when you opened it up, you saw information about the services and the benefits of working with us. And on the back side was a picture of myself and the 2 nurses who were working with me at the time. They were my in-house employees. I had their picture and a little bio. So on the back flap, there was my picture and then a second LNC's picture, and a third LNC's picture. I ordered 1,000 of each of 3 trifold brochures, anticipating what I would need when I was exhibiting at attorney conferences. And I had 3 different versions of this because I was pitching different types of services. There was one that was specifically geared to medical malpractice attorneys, and there was a different trifold for a personal injury attorney. And then there was one that dealt more generally with medical cases. As the truck was parking in front of my office condo to unload boxes of 3,000 brochures, one of my legal nurse consultants said, "Pat, can I talk to you for a minute?" Sure. Had no idea what was coming. She told me that she was ready to leave her position and she was giving me notice. The brochures are coming in the door as she's resigning, and immediately they're outdated and I have no ability to hand them out or use them. I had to, not so cheerfully, sign the bill and pay for them. But that was the trap that you can get into when you've got material that you've printed in bulk. Now, that was before print on demand. That was before online print services like Vistaprint, where you can print small quantities of things. You had to, in order to get a good discount, order a significant amount. So that's what I did.
Sounds like a costly issue.
It was indeed.
And can you share with us information about drawbacks of cold calls and cold visits? We know many LNCs are fearful of doing them, and then others do them quite well.
I think this would be a good time to ask people who are watching this to put in the comments if you have ever done cold calls or cold visits in your marketing and what your experience was like. I can come back, we can circle back and see what experiences you've had doing that type of marketing, a cold call, meaning a phone call, or a cold visit, meaning knocking on the door of the law firm and seeing if there's an attorney available to speak with you about your services. And then once we have some comments in the chat, we'll come back to that question.
Okay. In the meantime, what are some of the other traditional approaches?
Well, they would include the investment in time building up some local relationships, doing some networking. It's possible to do networking if you become a member of a local bar association, for example. And let me qualify that because that's not something that everybody is aware of or every state accepts. The concept of approaching the bar association is to see if you can become an affiliate member or whatever the term is, if there is a term, for joining at the level of like a paralegal. You're not asking to join as an attorney, you're asking to be an affiliate or an associate member. Some bar associations accept that. And one of our presidents of the American Association of Legal Nurse Consultants was instrumental in her state in getting her state to accept that status as an associate or an affiliate member. And that helped to convince other bar associations that they should accept legal nurse consultants in that role. If you can convince your local bar association to give you that status, then you can go to networking events and meet local attorneys. Now, the bar association has members who are anyone who's practicing law in that jurisdiction. So you've got real estate and wills and personal injury and intellectual property and a whole variety of attorneys. So you've got a much smaller population than if you go to a trial lawyers association where those people are all pretty much, all of them are handling medical cases. It is time consuming to do some local networking, although it can be very effective. And you have an opportunity to go to some events if you are either participating as an associate member of a bar association or a local chamber of commerce networking event, but they are scattered and few and far between. And if you're looking for specifically a topic where there's a medical topic, for example, for a bar association, they might do a few of them a year. They don't do them every month. One-on-one meetings are also other traditional ways to be able to market your services, where an attorney invites you to come into the office. And I'm not talking about a cold visit. I'm talking about when you're able to set up an appointment, perhaps as the basis of a referral. Hey, John, I think you ought to meet with Barbara and talk with her about her services. I think she would have a lot to offer you. Please respond to her when she calls. That's your client providing you with an inroad to get a one-on-one meeting. And they can be very effective with a very high probability that you'll walk away with a case or two or maybe three. We talked about the value of getting referrals as one of the traditional ways. And then also, one of the drawbacks with those one-on-one local meetings that I haven't mentioned so far is that you might be in an area with a limited number of local attorneys handling medical cases. Once you've gone through all of the attorneys within a driving distance of where you live, then what do you do next? So if you rely only on one-on-one visits with attorneys or local networking, then you are limiting your geographic spread of your business. Now, you could be fortunate that you find you live in a well-populated metropolitan area, and there are a lot of attorneys within a 1-hour driving distance of you. But if you live in a rural area, you may not be so fortunate. You might have 2 or 3 people that you can call on or you can make appointments with to discuss your services.
Great ideas. We actually have some comments in the chat. So if it's okay with you, we'll just circle back to our prior discussion about cold calls and cold visits. Sarah McLean stated, cold visits are tough, but I found a cold visit was more productive than a cold call. And probably for the reasons that you just stated about meeting one-on-one. And then Henry June stated, I have done 2 cold visits. Both love the idea of using me. However, I have not gotten any cases. Certainly, that could be maybe the attorneys don't have anything at the present time, but they'll keep the name in mind for future cases. But perhaps Henry may want to circle back, and just check in with the attorneys as a suggestion. What other ideas do you have for these comments?
Keeping top of mind is important in terms of what you just said, Barbara. Henry's initial success with getting his foot in the door and getting into the office is wonderful. Sometimes it's a challenge to get past the gatekeeper who are trained not to let people back in the back where the attorneys are. But some of them are cordial, and that's wonderful when you encounter that. Keeping the attorneys that you visited, Sarah and Henry, remembering you periodically, contacting them, maybe a phone call every couple of months, reminding them of your existence, seeing if you've gotten their email address to make sure that they're on your mailing list and that you're contacting them with helpful information so that they think of you. That's the premise behind top of mind, that you're right there when they're thinking about a legal nurse consultant, and hopefully they have saved your contact information, but they may not have. So by staying in touch with them, you remind them that you're there to help them.
Fabulous. And Jessie Sage Cheng was curious to know what information or how would you start a cold call?
I think Jesse's asking about a cold visit And what I have heard
Oh,
people
cold visit.
do who have done cold visits, which I have not. I have made some cold calls. It is often useful to bring along something that is food related, whether that is a plate of cookies, brownies, something that can be shared by more than one person in the office, to bring a brochure and literature with you, to request the opportunity to meet with an attorney who handles cases with medical issues. Be sure you know in advance what kind of cases the law firm does, because it could be that there's only one attorney on the firm who does medical cases, and the rest of them do commercial litigation or construction litigation or other things where they don't need a legal nurse consultant. So when you walk in, you should know what that firm does, so that you can make meaningful inquiries or request to meet with a specific attorney by name if there's only one person in the firm who handles that. There's also a managing partner in law firms that are slightly larger, who is the person who's typically involved in hiring legal vendors and experts. And that managing partner might meet with you even if the attorneys who handle medical cases are not available. So that's another person you could ask for.
These are very helpful suggestions, for sure. Please comment on the amount of time needed for the traditional approaches that you've discussed thus far.
It requires often a significant investment of time, and that's the challenge. If you are working clinically and you are doing marketing in your off hours or on your days off, you may be balancing marketing with a list of other responsibilities. Your days off could be different every week, making it a little hard to predict. So if you're counting on being available for in-person marketing, that may require some juggling of your schedule. If you are marketing through AI and some of the other methods that we'll be talking about later, and focusing your efforts on digital marketing, then you've got a lot more flexibility in terms of when you can do that. So attending events and networking and building up relationships are successful. However, they do require an amount of time that you have to budget for, and that might take you away from other things that are on your schedule to do.
Would you consider legal nurse consulting more competitive than when you first started in the field?
Oh, it's definitely more competitive, Barbara. I got my first case as an expert in 1987, and I started working with attorneys behind the scenes in 1989. When I first got my first med-surg case, physicians were still qualified in the courts, in the eyes of the judges, to comment on the nursing standard of care. Now, that may seem bizarre to you at this point. Physicians are not the same as nurses. They didn't go to nursing school, but they felt that they could opine because they supervised nurses. So when I presented myself to attorneys as a med-surg expert, they were excited because I was a nurse and I could talk about med-surg cases. We've had steady growth in the industry. We've also had a steady number of attorneys who are attracted to doing medical malpractice and personal injury cases. And this is a relatively recession-proof business. People sue when they are happy, they sue when they're sad, they sue when there's a recession, they sue when the economy is good, and attorneys will take those cases. So as long as there are plaintiff attorneys taking cases, there have to be defense attorneys responding to those lawsuits. There are more people offering their services now than there were when I started and when Barbara started, and she's been doing expert witness work for decades and has been doing med-surg cases for a long time. There are more people in the field. So that's part of what we wanted to talk about today, is how do you make sure that you are setting yourself apart from other people who are marketing to the same client base. Now, on the positive side, also, there are more attorneys who are aware of legal nurse consultants. They, when I started in the field, thought of us as only medical legal experts. That was the term. It wasn't legal nurse consultants. That's a term that came after I started. But they often didn't understand how a nurse could help them. They didn't put us into a box in their minds of, hey, these are useful people for me. They would say, and some of them still do, let's not kid ourselves, well, I've got an ER doctor who lives next door to me. If I've got a question about a case, I just walk over and ask him. Well, that's great, but he may not be available. And if he decides to charge you, he would be charging you a lot more than a legal nurse consultant would charge you for helping you behind the scenes with a case. Or maybe that local ER doctor works in the hospital with a case that you're planning to pursue, and he's not going to tell you anything about that hospital. So there are drawbacks in using physicians instead of nurses. We are wired to be very detail-oriented. And the other thing, which goes along with not using a nurse, is that you might be presented with an argument of, well, I've got a paralegal. Now, why do I need a nurse? And I continue to hear this from my coaching clients and from people who are not tuned in to the value of having a nurse help them with cases. They still think of the output, which is the chronology or the medical summary, and say, my paralegal can do that. But I would bet you, Barbara, if I asked you a question of what did you see in a case recently that would have flown right over the head of a paralegal, you could sit there and tell me 5 examples of things that you saw in medical records that would have no meaning to a paralegal, but for a legal nurse consultant, yes, that's significant because you know how healthcare works.
That is so true. What are your thoughts on the pressures on legal nurse consultants in adopting some new strategies?
Keeping this in perspective, our profession is probably 40, 50 years old. Our professional association is about 30 years old, roughly, and we can't keep using the same traditional marketing methods. When I say our profession is probably 40 or 50 years old, I'm convinced that as long as there have been nurses and attorneys, they found each other, not knowing that they were doing legal nurse consulting, but attorneys turning to nurses for questions and having the need to get answers about cases. But we are definitely shifting in our marketing methods, and we're going to talk about that as we focus on the generations of attorneys who are in practice, and also how you can use artificial intelligence in your marketing efforts. And I will be sharing with you at the end of this program about a challenge that I'm doing from September 11th to 15th, which is next Monday through Friday, if you are watching this live, that will take place at this link where you can sign up. It's a free challenge, and I'll tell you more about it, but I want to be sure to show you that link so that you can open that up and keep that open as we are progressing. As we talk about traditional methods, then we have to think about how are we using digital methods. It used to be, and for you, if you're in the baby boomer population or the Gen X population, you can remember a time when we didn't have such quick, instant ability to know what was going on in the world, to be able to market anywhere in the United States or beyond, where we relied on newspapers for news, where we relied on 3 television stations when I was growing up, when we didn't have the ability to work with an attorney anywhere in the United States or in other countries. We were very local. We were very focused on who we could reach in our local area. but that has all changed. Social media has changed that. The fact that you, as a legal nurse consultant, don't need a nursing license in the state in which the case is located in order to be able to help that attorney, that means you can work with anyone, anywhere. And that has a significant impact on your marketing, because rather than just looking at only the people within a 1 hour radius, you can market to anyone, anywhere. And that requires embracing digital marketing techniques.
What has been your experience in paying for advertising?
I have paid for advertising, Barbara, thousands and thousands of dollars to be part of publications that were in print format. Now, again, remember, I built my business from 1987 to 2015 when I sold it in 2015 and then returned to the field in 2021. So I had close to 30 years of trying these various marketing methods and seeing what worked. There was a publication in New Jersey, which was a print publication, which once a year would issue a supplement for expert witnesses and legal consultants. And the supplement was a physical batch of papers stapled together that were an insert, that was an insert in the newspaper. And the newspaper was a physical paper. And they would run a supplement, and this was something the attorney who subscribed to the newspaper could pull out and put on the desk and refer to and leaf through to use to locate vendors. Those pages cost $1,000, $2,000, $3,000. The woman who was marketing those pages was a very good salesperson, and I signed up for full page ads, half page ads, inside cover ads. And then I would track when somebody would call us with a new case. I would always ask, and you should do it too, how did you find out about our services? Well, some cases did come in from the advertisements, but the majority of cases came in from other sources. So one day I sat down and I totaled up how much I had spent with this very good marketer who was selling me these pages. And it was, one year it was $5,000. The previous year it was $4,000. And I sat and I thought, well, yes, I have gotten cases to cover that. But what if I could take that same amount of money and use it to help get more cases from my existing clients rather than buying ads? So I stopped. I have to tell you, Barbara, she went into a state of shock. What do you mean, Pat? What do you mean, no? You've been one of my loyal customers. She would call me for months after that. Now, Pat, I know you may not be interested, but I've got this rare opportunity, an inside cover of the supplement. No, no, no. Eventually, she stopped calling me. So, yes, I have paid for advertising. I do not recommend that you pay for Facebook ads because it is hard to target your ideal client on Facebook. And Facebook ads can run into a lot of money very quickly. So I'm not recommending Facebook ads. In case you had that question in your mind, I have paid for Facebook ads, but in a different context, and did not find it to be rewarding. Also, Facebook changes the rules about their ads periodically, and you really have to stay on top of designing words carefully, picking the right images, testing wording, watching how many people are clicking on an ad. It is a consuming process. And you can pay somebody to do it for you, but then that adds into more money and more oversight.
Thank you. I'd like to just reiterate the website for people to go to, and that's lnc.tips/AI challenge. And this is, you will hear more about this during this session. Pat will explain further about the exciting opportunity that you will have. At this time, let's explore how the generations of attorneys have different communication preferences. Because as time has gone on in our practices, we've seen a lot of changes, Pat.
We have. And I would put myself into the category of the baby boomers who were born between 1946 and 1964. They have their own distinct preferences. As we talk about the generations, think about what generation you were born in and what type of marketing you embrace. One
So,
would think,
can you share with us about the baby boomers?
yes, yes. The baby boomers respond quite well to professionalism and your expertise. They are interested in knowing that you have a deep understanding of medical legal cases. Now, if you're brand new, I don't want to put you off with what I just said. Your deep understanding of how the medical system works is the foundation to help you develop a relationship with a baby boomer attorney, as well as with other generations of attorneys. You gain experience as you go along with understanding how medical legal cases work. So you don't come into this profession automatically knowing how the legal system works and all the ins and outs of being a legal nurse consultant. But as you go along and you get experience, each time you can build on that experience. And baby boomer attorneys are looking for information. They like educational content, they like informative content. They want to make sure that you understand their challenges, that you are personalizing your emails to their challenges, to the type of cases that they handle. They like case studies. When I speak to attorneys and they contact me about a case, I can say, yes, I helped another attorney with that case, very similar to yours, and this is what happened. And they like knowing that I've had experience in that type of case. They like in-person interactions. They love to go to the exhibit area at an attorney conference. They love to meet the people they are going to be considering to work with. They love in-office visits. They love sitting down and sharing a lunch or a meal with you. They value testimonials. They especially want to know if their colleagues have had a good experience with you. And they are more willing to look at longer material, like a longer blog or a longer post on social media. If you follow what Google asks in terms of the length of blogs, they are pushing for longer content, like 2,000 words, 2,400 words, not the short pieces, which used to be very popular. And the baby boomers love that longer material. And they also will respond to printed materials. They are of an era when they are used to having things in their hands, books, physical books, for example, or brochures or flyers. Don't overlook those because those do appeal to baby boomer attorneys.
Let's talk about the second group of attorneys, the Gen Xers. And they were born between 1965 and 1980. Let me ask all of you to put in the chat, how do you think millennials, and they're the ones that were born between 1981 and 1996, react to legal nurse consulting marketing? And while you're doing that, let's focus first on the Gen Xer. What are their distinct preferences and behaviors when it comes to marketing by legal nurse consultants?
Well, the Gen X attorney values quality. They value professionalism, like the baby boomer attorney. They tend to respond positively to messages that highlight your expertise. If you're an OR nurse, for example, and you can share details about complications during surgery, those pesky retained sponges, the headlines that are out this week, you may have seen, I believe it was in New Zealand, with a rather large woman who found out after her cesarean section, a year after her cesarean section, that she had a surgical instrument the size of a dinner plate in her abdomen. Oh, how did that get lost? Well, that's not a counted item, so it got left behind. Got tucked in and somebody overlooked it, and she's been in pain since. So look for that case, by the way. It's an interesting headline: dinner-sized medical equipment found in woman's abdomen, or words to that effect. The Gen X people are going to be looking at your background. They will be checking you out. They will be looking for your website. They will be evaluating your qualifications based on how you present yourself. They know how to do research. They want to make sure they know about you before they hire you. And they like to hear about success stories and case studies. They want detailed information about the services you offer and the benefits of your services, which are two distinct things. They will respond to your email marketing. They're used to email. They get lots of email. And if you address their needs in your emails, they're much more likely to respond to you. And they want you to include their name in the email. So don't send out an email of "Dear Attorney," or "Dear Respected Legal Professional," or "Dear Esteemed Colleague." They want your mailing system to identify them by their first name.
Can you tell us about their social media use for that group?
Yes, they love LinkedIn and Facebook. And they're comfortable with digital interactions, but they also value face to face. They're not so much the Instagram or TikTok generation, but LinkedIn and Facebook are very comfortable for them. When you become friends with attorney clients, you will see that they use Facebook in particular to share their wins, to talk about their child's high school graduation or college graduation or marriage. They share personal news on Facebook, and they are on LinkedIn for business purposes. And they also respond. One final thing about the Gen X's: when you can clearly define the benefits of using your services. I made a comment earlier about benefits and services as being two distinct pieces. The benefits are things like, I locate expert witnesses, the, so that you don't have to spend your valuable time searching for medical experts. I locate expert witnesses is the service. When you put it in a benefit statement and you add the word "so that," at least in your mind, I locate expert witnesses so that you don't have to spend your valuable time searching for medical experts. That's the services piece. And Gen X attorneys, as well as other types of attorneys, respond very nicely to emphasizing the benefits of working with you.
That is such a very important point that you've shared, because that's what we hear, you and I, from attorneys that are looking for to hire LNCs, whether it's in-house or perhaps as behind the scenes or even as their experts, to know what can they provide for them. Let's take a look at what people have put in the chat about the preferences of the millennials. Let's see. Jesse wrote, I think younger attorneys may be interested most to see how we can benefit them and their clients. Henry June said they are open to receiving help, especially when legal nurse consultants are able to address the needs in a quick and professional manner. And Abigail Rogers said, I'm going to guess that millennials would rather engage in digital marketing over other types of marketing.
You are all on target. This is great. The millennials especially respond to social media platforms. They are very active on them. They're active on Facebook, on Instagram, on X, and on TikTok. They want a fast response. Henry, you're exactly correct on that. If they contact you about a case, they don't want you to respond a week from now, 2 days from now. They want a response now. They want you to call them back or text them or acknowledge that you received the message if you can't speak to them at that moment. But they want to know that you have connected with them, that you have heard them. They are very likely to have a phone in their hands, probably at all times, or at least I'm looking around for mine. Mine is right over here. I'm not a millennial by any stretch, but most of us have a phone within about 4 feet of us at all times. So those are people who are going to be looking at your website on their phone. Make sure you've got a mobily responsive website. Make sure that your emails are formatted correctly and you don't have long subject lines, which are going to drift off the edge if people are looking at your emails on their phone, which the majority of people do now. They appreciate stories. The millennials, they like Instagram stories, they like appealing content, they like images that will connect with their emotions. They are especially wanting authenticity and transparency. They want you to be genuine and not overly scripted, not reading from a script, but to be real and open and clear and honest about your services. And if they ask you to do something that you can't do, that's beyond your level of expertise, they expect you to acknowledge that, as any attorney would, of course, and to be able to say, well, but I have a colleague who has the background that you're looking for. I'm not a dialysis nurse, but I have a colleague who is, and I would be happy to connect you with that person to assist with your case.
You have described some distinctively different preferences of the three age groups. And how can we tailor our marketing to accommodate this generational diversity?
It's important for you to, especially when you have the opportunity to meet in person with an attorney, to do a quick scan. You should be able to pick out the baby boomers versus the Gen X's and the millennials and tailor your communication accordingly. By keeping these differences in mind, it will help you use the language and the approach that will most likely resonate with that individual. I do need to caution you that these are broad generalizations. Not every baby boomer is going to react the same way. Not every millennial or Gen X is going to react the same way. These are broad stereotypes that may or may not fit. But by using a variety of techniques, by using a combination of the things that we've talked about, you're going to hit the preferences for different generations in your marketing and will be able to make a judgment based on how that person is responding, whether you're using an effective technique for that person.
Pat, can you tell us about personalization and why that's important?
Personalization should be a feature of the email system that you're using. My coaching clients know that I stress building a list by having an opt-in offer and building a list and putting people on a mailing list. You cannot use your regular email system to start sending out large numbers of emails. Once you get above, I think it's 50 in Gmail, and that number is my guess. But as soon as you start trying to send out more than your allocated number, your email system sees those emails as spam. So you need an email system that enables you to develop a list of people. And then as you get to know the attorneys, it's ideal if you can tag that person with a certain type of law practice. If you send an email to personal injury attorneys who handle car crashes, and you tell them about how you can find expert witnesses who will evaluate the standard of care, they're going to tune off. Well, she obviously, or he obviously doesn't know that I don't handle medical malpractice cases. But if you send the personal injury attorney an email about what is spondylolisthesis and what does a straightening of the lordotic curve mean when a person has had a back injury, that's their language. Now they want to hear about back injuries, about new techniques in back surgery, about pain management methods, and what exactly goes into a spinal epidural injection, and all of the things that are part of their world. That's a personalized email. Not just stopping at inserting their first name into the email, but making sure that you're sending information that is directed to that attorney's practice area. How do you know their practice area? You tag them in your email system, you put them into a group, and if you don't know, if they're just a name on your list, send a survey periodically. Hey, I'd love to make sure that I'm sending you content that would be of interest to you. Would you please share with me which of these 3 types of law do you practice? Click, oh, personal injury, fine. Then your system tags them so they go into the right group. So that's what personalization means today, making sure you're focused and targeting your messages.
Can you tell us the importance of diversity?
Diversity means acknowledging that we have a variety of people in our population. We don't want to exclude people. We want to respect differences. I have an example of a book that I'm putting together called Medical Record Analysis, a Guide for Attorneys, second volume. And a group of my coaching clients are writing chapters for this book. A couple of them had some very plain names in them, John Smith, John Jones, Bill Smith, Bill White. Well, we can acknowledge diversity by recognizing that our words need to be inclusive. So we can change, and we did change those names to recognize Asian, Hispanic, French, Chinese. We added a group of different types of names to make sure that our reader recognized that we know the world is made up of lots of interesting people and lots of interesting combinations. My husband is Indian. I've got an Indian name that most people can't spell, by the way. It's Iyer. If you looked at me, you would think, oh, obviously she would have married somebody from her own race. We have a mixed couple mixed relationship. We've been married for 53 years, and we just accept each other as we're different, and we embrace the differences. So when you are writing blogs, when you are giving examples of case studies, mix it up. Add names to acknowledge different ages, different preferences, different cultural backgrounds, different racial backgrounds, different hereditary backgrounds, because that's all of who we are in this country.
I love those points. How can AI be used to help us in our marketing efforts? How can we use AI?
Well, AI is helpful in helping you to uncover the topics that will resonate with attorneys. It will give you some ideas that had never occurred to you. And I see a question in the chat I want to address before I go on, because it's a great one. Is there an email system you recommend? There's no one email system that I recommend. There are a number that are available. Constant Contact, Get Response are a couple. MailChimp is one that has a free version. I recommend that you do some research. And the Facebook user is probably coming from my Facebook group that I established for my AI challenge, and I'll share with you about that challenge. But I will also put in the Facebook group a document that will show you some comparisons between different systems so that you can look at the information that I've accumulated based on 1,000 users. What are some of the features of each of those different mailing systems? Going back to AI, there's been some interesting and lightning speed developments in this industry. Let me qualify that. It may seem like lightning speed for us because we haven't been working for decades behind the scenes the way that these software engineers have been working. But they've got, just yesterday, I was doing an e-zine for people on my mailing list, and I went to Adobe Firefly and said, give me a picture of a cake with a number 8 on it. and it gave me 3 choices of cakes with a number 8 on it because I'm celebrating Legal Nurse Podcast turned 8 on Tuesday of this week, yesterday, meaning I'm starting my 8th year of Legal Nurse Podcast, so I wanted a visual. AI drew it for me. You've probably seen some other AI-generated pictures. The classic is the dachshund with a pearl earring that was created by Dolly. They can create some very interesting and engaging images that you can include in your materials when you're marketing to attorneys or you're writing materials on social media. And in addition, they can help you polish your resume. They can create video scripts. They can help you project a modern image with an AI enhanced image. So there's lots of opportunities to use AI.
Can you share with us what you have coming up starting next week to help LNCs harness the power of AI for their marketing?
Yes, this is the challenge that I have been mentioning. This is a free challenge. It will consist of daily videos on topics that first teach you some principles and then show you how you can use those principles with AI to enhance your marketing efforts. For example, the first day, I will go through what you should consider when you're having a headshot done. Headshots are very important when you're marketing your LNC practice. The way that you present yourself professionally, the way that you're dressed is critical. There are certain pieces of clothing that will look great on you and certain colors that are important to wear when you have a headshot and others that you should never consider. So I'll share with you in the first video the principles behind that marketing concept. And then the second video is how you can use AI to enhance those principles. Each day, there's a new topic, a new set of videos, a couple of videos, and then an exercise, an assignment, something that you can easily accomplish in less than 15 minutes. The videos themselves total about 15 minutes. You'll have another 15 minutes or 20 minutes with the assignment. In the Facebook group that comes along with this challenge, you'll be sharing your results of your assignment so that other people can see what you came up with. And then at the end of every day, I will do a random drawing for everyone who shared the results of their assignment. One person each day will receive a $25 gift certificate to Amazon. At the end of the challenge, everyone who has done all 5 of those assignments will go into a random drawing for a grand prize. And that grand prize will consist of a professionally edited video of you welcoming somebody to your website or introducing yourself on social media. We will professionally edit it for you. And then you also have an opportunity to be a guest on Legal Nurse Podcast in my 8th year of running. There is also in this challenge a day where we will get together and have a live Q&A session, which will take place on September 14th, which is Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern. And that will be an opportunity for you to ask any questions about the content that we've been covering over the course of the week. To be part of this challenge, you can sign up now, and that will introduce you into the Facebook group, which is part of this challenge. That link is on the screen at lnc.tips/AI challenge. And that looks like a capital L, but it is an I. This is one of the banes of my existence, by the way, because capital I in Iyer looks like a capital L, and you know it's not a good thing to call an expert witness Pat Liar. Raise your right hand, Pat Liar. Swear to tell the truth. There goes my credibility. Done.
Pat, there is a question in the chat. Somebody asking, is there any way on participating in this if you don't have Facebook?
There is not, because the challenge results are posted in Facebook. You can establish a profile in Facebook and use it only for the purposes of being in the challenge, and not set up a profile and start inviting friends, but it does require Facebook involvement. Now, the videos for the challenge will be available after the challenge is over for an investment of $37, and you will have access to all the content if you wish to purchase the videos once the challenge is over. The videos are free during the time of the challenge, but then for continued access, or if you don't have Facebook and you want the content that I share, then you can make an investment in those. And those videos are available for purchase by going to the link that is on the screen. By going to this lnc.tips/AI challenge, you can purchase the videos. And if you choose not to go into the Facebook group, Ryan, then you don't have to click on that button and join the group.
Well, we'd love to invite all of you to join us for this great challenge, lnc.tips/AI challenge. Well, Pat, you have shared a wealth of really important information with all the legal nurses who have joined today. And I see great comments here. Many thank yous. Congratulations on your 8 years with podcasts. Lovely comments and thanks.
Thank you very much. And we so appreciate you coming here and listening to this discussion. I hope it has given you some new perspectives. If nothing else, thinking about how to communicate with an attorney based on that attorney's generation is a critical thing to keep in mind. And also to embrace AI, to recognize its power. It is doing things that are amazing, and it is opening up opportunities and new doors for people to think about using it as a research tool, thinking about its power to come up with some ideas that you had not considered, and to act as your aid, to act as an aid in your marketing tools. The quick link, Jesse, is the one that is on the screen. It should be http://lnc.tips/AI challenge. That is the quick link. And thank you for that question, because I sometimes make an assumption that we know to put that in there. I'm going to edit that link right now in case that would help. Let me show that. http://lnc.tips/AI challenge. And that's all one word. You don't need any spaces between the AI and the word challenge.
Well, we look forward to seeing all of you join us next week.
Thank you so much, and thanks for being here.